I found out by accident, and that's the part that still gets me, because if I hadn't opened that email at that exact moment, I probably wouldn't have known for weeks. It was a normal afternoon, nothing special. I was sitting on the couch going through random notifications when I saw a subject line that didn't make sense: loan approval confirmation. At first, I ignored it because I assumed it was spam, but something about it felt specific, like it wasn't just another random message, so I opened it. And that's when everything shifted. It had my full name, my email, and a loan amount I never applied for. I read it again slowly, thinking I misunderstood something, thinking maybe it was a mistake, but it was. The details were clear, clean, official. Someone had used my identity to apply for a loan, and it was approved. For a second, I just sat there, staring at the screen, not reacting, not panicking, just trying to make sense of it, because my first thought wasn't fraud, it was confusion. Maybe it was an old application, maybe I clicked something without realizing, maybe it was a system error. I tried to find any explanation that didn't feel serious, but the more I looked at it, the less it made sense. Then I saw something else. A phone number attached to the application. Not mine. That's when the feeling changed. Not fear, not yet, but something sharper. Awareness. Because now it wasn't a mistake anymore. Someone had used my information and added their own. I stood up slowly and walked into the bedroom where he was sitting, scrolling on his phone like always, completely relaxed, completely normal. I stood there for a second without saying anything, just watching him, because suddenly everything felt different. "Can I ask you something?" I said. He looked up casually. "Yeah, what's up?" I held my phone in my hand, still open on the email. "Did you apply for a loan using my name?" I asked, calm, direct, no emotion. He paused for a second, just a second, but it was enough. Then he laughed. "What? No, why would I do that?" Too quick, too easy. I nodded slowly, like I believed him. "Yeah, that's what I thought," I said, and turned the phone slightly away like it didn't matter. He went back to his screen instantly, like the question was nothing, like the moment had already passed, but it hadn't. Not for me. Because that 1 second pause told me everything I needed to know. I didn't push. I didn't show him the email. I didn't ask again. Instead, I walked back to the living room and sat down quietly, staring at the screen again, reading every detail this time, slower, more carefully. Loan amount. Approved. Processing. My name, my email. That number again. And suddenly, it all made sense in a way I didn't want it to. Let me ask you something. If someone lies to you immediately, without even thinking, is it because they're innocent, or because they're used to getting away with it? Because I didn't feel shocked anymore. I felt clear. Clear enough to know that reacting right now wouldn't help me. Clear enough to know that if I confronted him without understanding everything, he would deny it again, twist it, make it sound like I was overthinking, and somehow I'd end up explaining myself instead of asking the right questions. So I did something different. I said nothing. I sat there for a few minutes, then opened the full loan document attached to the email. And that's when it got worse, way worse, because it wasn't just my name and email. It had my ID details, my work information, even my salary range. Information I never entered anywhere. Information only someone close to me would know. I leaned back slowly, exhaling quietly, because now there was no doubt left. This wasn't random. This wasn't a mistake. This was intentional. And the scariest part. He was sitting in the next room, acting like nothing had happened. I locked my phone and placed it face down on the table. Not because I was done, but because I knew this wasn't the moment to react. This was the moment to think. Because if he really used my name, then this wasn't just about trust anymore. This was about something bigger, something serious. And if he thought I didn't know yet, then I had an advantage, one he didn't even realize I had. And that's exactly how I decided to play it. I didn't confront him again that night, not even a hint. I just acted normal, like nothing had happened, like that email didn't exist. And that's exactly what made it work, because he stayed relaxed, completely unaware that I had already seen everything. We ate dinner, watched something random on TV, even talked about small things like the weekend, and the entire time I kept watching him, not obviously, not in a way he could notice, just enough to see how comfortable he was, how normal he acted, and that told me more than any explanation ever could. Someone who's worried checks, hesitates, over-explains. He didn't. He was calm. Too calm. Later that night, when he fell asleep, I picked up my phone again and went back to the email, this time opening every attachment, every detail, every line I had ignored before. The loan wasn't small. It wasn't something you could brush off or fix quickly. It was serious, structured, already in process. And the more I read, the more I realized how carefully it had been done. My information was correct. My income details were accurate. Even my work email had been used properly. And that meant one thing: this wasn't rushed. This wasn't impulsive. This was planned. And that's when the situation stopped feeling like a mistake and started feeling like a decision he had already made for me. I noticed something else too. The contact number attached to the application was the same one I had seen earlier, and this time I didn't hesitate. I copied it and saved it in my phone under a random name, just so I could keep track of it without making it obvious. Then I searched it. Nothing at first. No name, no profile, just an empty number, but that didn't matter because I already knew where it came from. I didn't need proof of identity. I needed proof of pattern. The next morning, I acted exactly the same, calm, normal, nothing out of place. He got ready for work, grabbed his keys, and just before leaving, he said, "I might have to step out later, got something to handle." And I nodded like it meant nothing. "Okay," I said, simple, easy, no questions. He left without thinking twice, without realizing that this time I was paying attention to everything. As soon as the door closed, I opened my laptop and started digging deeper. Not emotionally, not rushed, just carefully. I logged into my bank accounts, checked recent activity, then moved to my email again, searching for anything connected to that loan, any earlier messages, any hidden confirmations, anything I might have missed. And that's when I found it. A verification email from 2 days ago. Opened. Confirmed. Not by me. That's when something inside me settled completely. Not anger, not panic, just certainty. Let me ask you something. What's more dangerous? Someone who reacts immediately, or someone who stays quiet and starts collecting everything? Because I wasn't reacting anymore. I was building something, piece by piece. Evidence, timing, patterns, everything he didn't expect me to notice. Later that day, I sent a simple message to the number attached to the application. "Hi, this is Mia, just confirming the loan process is moving forward." I kept it neutral, nothing suspicious, nothing emotional. A few minutes later, I got a reply. "Yes, everything is on track, final step soon." That was enough. Not because of what it said, but because of how easily it came. No hesitation, no confusion. Whoever was handling this believed I was fully involved. That told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't just something he tried. This was something he was continuing, confidently. That night when he came back, he acted the same way again, relaxed, casual, like nothing had changed. "Long day," he said, dropping his keys, and I nodded. "Yeah, same," keeping my voice steady. We sat together for a while, but this time I wasn't just watching him, I was measuring everything. His tone, his timing, his behavior. And the more I paid attention, the clearer it became. He wasn't planning to tell me, not now, not later. And that's when I made my decision. Not to argue, not to accuse, not yet, because I knew something he didn't. I had time. And more importantly, I had proof. I closed my laptop that night and placed it beside me, not because I was done, but because I was ready. Ready to take this out of guessing, out of denial, out of his control. Because if he thought he could use my name without consequences, then he had no idea what was coming next. The next morning, I didn't rush anything. I didn't call the bank. I didn't confront him. I didn't even mention the loan, because I already knew this wasn't something I wanted to handle emotionally. This needed to be handled properly, clearly, and in a way he wouldn't be able to talk his way out of. I made coffee, sat down, and opened my laptop again, going through everything one more time, every email, every detail, every confirmation, making sure there were no gaps, no assumptions, just facts. Then I picked up my phone and called the bank directly. "Hi, this is Mia," I said calmly. "I need to report an unauthorized loan application under my name." There was a pause on the other end, then the tone shifted immediately, professional, serious. They asked for details, verification, confirmation, and I gave them everything, every piece of information I had, clearly, directly, no hesitation. When they asked if I had authorized anyone to use my identity, I said one word: no. That was all it took. Within minutes, they flagged the application, froze the process, and started an internal investigation. They told me I might need to file a formal report, and I said I would. Not because I wanted drama, but because I wanted this documented. Fully. After I ended the call, I didn't feel relieved. I felt steady. Like everything was finally moving in the right direction, not based on emotion, but based on facts. I closed my laptop, stood up, and looked around the room for a second because something had shifted again, not in him, not yet, but in me. I wasn't waiting anymore. That evening, I told him the same thing as before. "Come home early," I said, and again, he didn't question it. When he walked in, everything looked normal, dinner ready, lights soft, same calm setup, and he smiled like nothing had changed. "What's going on?" he asked casually. "Nothing," I said, "just sit." He sat down, started eating, completely relaxed, completely unaware that this time the situation wasn't in his control anymore. A few minutes later, I placed my phone on the table and turned it toward him. "The bank called me today," I said. That was it. That one sentence. And I saw it immediately. That shift in his face, not confusion this time, not curiosity, but recognition. "What do you mean?" he asked, but it wasn't the same tone as before. "They flagged a loan application under my name," I said calmly, "and they asked me if I authorized it." Silence. Real silence. The kind that doesn't need explanation. "I told them no," I added. He looked at the table for a second, then back at me, trying to think, trying to find something to say, something to fix it, something to control the situation again, but there was nothing left. "You went to the bank," he said. "I called them," I replied. "Why would you do that?" I tilted my head slightly. Why would I not? That landed harder than anything else. Because now the conversation wasn't about the loan anymore. It was about the fact that I knew. "You could have talked to me first," he said, trying to shift it, trying to make it sound like I skipped a step. "I did," I said calmly. "I asked you if you used my name." He didn't respond. Because we both knew what happened next. "You said no," I added. And that was it. No anger. No shouting. No drama. Just truth. Let me ask you something. When someone lies directly to your face, do they deserve another chance to explain? Or do they deserve to deal with the consequences of that lie? Because I wasn't there to argue. I wasn't there to hear excuses. I was there to end it. "The application is frozen," I said, "and the bank is investigating it." He leaned back slightly, the confidence completely gone now, replaced with something else, something closer to reality. "You didn't have to do that," he muttered. "I did," I said. "Because this wasn't about money anymore. This was about boundaries. You used my identity without asking me," I continued, still calm, still steady. "That's not a misunderstanding, that's a decision." He didn't argue this time. Didn't try to explain. Didn't even look at me properly. Because now, there was nothing left to deny. I stood up slowly, not to leave, not dramatically, just because I was done sitting in something that didn't respect me. And in that moment, I realized something clearly. I didn't lose anything here. Not the money. Not the situation. I lost the version of me that would have stayed quiet and fixed it for him. And him. He didn't lose me when I made that call. He lost me the moment he thought he could use my name, and I wouldn't notice. And that's something he's going to live with.